Yeah.
Welcome to my project. Welcome to my podcast. And I guess I'd like to start with, I mean, if you can, in your own words, just introduce yourself and a bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing me on board. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to chat with you again. My name is Cheyenne Sapphire, and I'm known as the Creatrix. And I am a tantric Magdalene priestess who seeks to bring people back to themselves, their divinity, through prayerformance and through one-on-one mentorships and tantric dance.
Awesome. That's very sweet. You probably already know this, but I'm very fascinated and drawn to artists and people in general um, who seem to incorporate interdisciplinary aspects into their
Yes.
work, and who kind of combine multiple areas of discipline or artistic practice. And so when I first saw your work, I was very, very, very drawn to it for that reason. And yeah, I'm very happy to speak with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. That means a lot.
So Tantra, it's my understanding of Tantra is it's sort of this blending of spirituality, sexuality, physicality, movement, artistry, metaphysical, all of these things kind of together to sort of open those gates to deeper learning about oneself. Is that
Yep.
kind of
Yeah,
okay?
you pretty much nailed it. Yeah. So, I mean, Tantra doesn't have to just be about sex, as you also, mentioned. Tantra is yes about a deeper connection with oneself and the world, and that is through energy. And Tantra means weave and weft. So, if you think about a needle and thread, and you're weaving this fabric, this reality, and you're going in and out, and it's this dance of polarities of masculine and feminine, hot and cold, fast, slow, any type of polarity. And it's this dance of them that is Tantra, and it's this, yes, weaving and wefting. And when these polarities meet in inner union, that's where wow, bliss erupts. That's where transcendence, awakening begins. That's when it's your channels open. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what aspect of that drew you to Tantra initially? Was it because you're very much an artist as well, and
Yeah.
you kind of um, blend all of these things together. Um,
Yes.
so, did you see that artistic potential in the practice initially as well, or what did it come from a more yogic, spiritual?
Well, it's a great question. And to me, they're one and the same. Art and spirituality, they're all a prayer, right? And when, the original storytellers, the original musicians, and thousands and thousands of years ago were shamans, were shaw women, were people communing with the divine, channeling. What we call flow state now, um, is channeling. It's when you're opening your channels and you're completely present and you're in this meditative state. And that's when we are communing with the divine, or allowing ourselves to be that divine, which is what we are. And so, yeah, to me, there isn't a difference. And it's the art, I find, can be very commercialized in today's world, and you look at it as a product. But I think all artists know that, you know whether or not someone will buy it, when we still feel that urge to release, to express, to create, that is also the energy of sexuality, because creativity and sexuality are two sides of the same coin. If you think about, from the very beginning, the Big Bang, let's just pause and think about those words, the Big Bang, right? And it's two particles that are coming together, that polarity, boom, and an explosion occurs, created the whole universe. And same with that's creativity. When we are making love with a partner, if it's a man and a woman, we can create a baby. And that is the utmost creation, right? Is creating an actual human. And so with Tantra, you can do certain practices that bring all of that potential energy that can literally create you or me and bring that up into your body. And we can bring it into different areas in our body. We can bring it to different chakras to activate them. All of that potential energy then goes back inside of you. That's really powerful.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
This like give and take, releasing and
Yes.
accepting energy.
Exactly, and you can share it with others. You can share it platonically as well. It's just, that's what I mentioned earlier. It doesn't have to be an actual sexual act, although everything is actually a sexual act if you think about it. Not in this pornographic sense or an actual, the physical, a man entering a woman or a man entering a man, whatever. But in the fact that we are always, alchemy is everything. We are always interacting with individuals. And when I put my, mug on the table, the mug has a weight that is then meeting the table, and that distribution is shifting. There's always a transfer of energy, right? And energy cannot be created or destroyed. So that's always this union of two things, or this interaction of two different things that creates another, right?
Mm. Oh, there's so much I want to ask you just based off what you just said. I know
Yeah.
it's so expansive.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so all right, so there's this spiritual element to your artistic practice.
Yeah.
And was that kind of existing before you found your artistic practice? Like, did you have that inside of you, that spiritual awareness?
Hmm.
I know for me, well, at this point, I would identify as being, um, if not a Buddhist, I am definitely leaning in that
Yeah.
direction in my practice. But those ideas were sort of inside of me my whole life, and then when I found that avenue of expressing it, then that related to me, right? So it resonated.
Yes.
But did you
Beautiful.
feel like growing up you had that sort of sense?
That's really beautiful. And that's also, just an indication too on what you just shared, that we do have all the answers inside of us, and that when we do tune inwards, it's it's like that's already in your cells. Your spirituality, you don't need to really seek it from someone else, but someone might provide other lenses, for you to look at something that is already unfolding in you, which is beautiful. Yes, I have been spiritual my whole life. I grew up in a very liberal artistic family, and my mother was a hippie, and there were goddess books, ancient goddess rites and stuff all over my house. We ate really healthy. I was doing yoga at 12, learned how to meditate at a young age. So I yeah, was very immersed into Native American indigenous spirituality as well. And I always had a deep relationship with nature. And I suppose I didn't, at a younger age, I didn't really dive too deep into the spiritual aspect of the art that I was creating, but I think I innately knew, I just had that sense. I always took it very seriously, and not seriously in the form of like an academic way, although I did as well, but just it was very special to me. And then in later years, it really became a spiritual practice, my artwork, and that arose after a pretty depressing time in my life. I was very heartbroken. I had a lot of physical pain because I have scoliosis. I was in Toronto in my parents' basement after traveling for years alone, and it was middle of winter, and it was just a dark time for me. And I refused to submit to uh, like addictions. Like I refused to drink or smoke or, I don't know, party like other people do most people do when they're 23 years old. You know what I mean? Like I was just, I refused to do that. And I thought, I need to go inwards. I need to face this. And so I started to do what I now know as training in the void, but wouldn't call it that then. And I started doing blindfolded movement practices and blindfolded dance. And that was really the start of my tantric experience as well. and connecting with my senses, facing my shadows, the dark, and questioning what is the dark, who am I when I'm covered, when I can't see anything, when I can't look at myself, when I can't judge myself, Yeah.
And then when did Tantra kind of come into it for you?
Well, so so as I mentioned earlier, Tantra is energy, and you're tapping in with your energy, your potential energy. You're also clearing your channels so that more flow can enter your life. And with the blindfold, when you're removing sight, and you're essentially removing constrictions in your body and in your psyche, and allowing yourself to fully express completely, to get weird, to get silly, to scream, to cry, to shake, to do whatever. That's a really liberating feeling, and that starts to open your channels, and it also activates your dormant senses. So I you know my taste, my hearing, my touch, I started to get a lot more sensitive. And that also is a part of Tantra, is activating your senses. And that's also a part of evolution. A species will heighten and activate their senses to evolve. And so that's what I started doing with the blindfold. And then I met my best friend now, and I started reading different tantric books, and I was calling it in, and I started reading tantra books. I did a course on tantra, and then I started practicing with her and my other roommates who were also tantrikas, and I just it started coming through inner gnosis. I just started getting different downloads. I started uh, receiving information that I wasn't, I mean, my higher self was asking for, but I wasn't necessarily seeking in the specific things. For example, like one day I was just meditating with my friend, and then a past life regression came through. But I didn't sit in that setting thinking I want to practice past life regression or anything. You know what I mean? So it just started coming to me, and then I started training more and practicing more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so interesting how that happens. It's almost like as soon as you start to attune yourself to what you are on some level
Yes.
seeking, it
Yes.
will start to come to you. And the more that you're attuned to those things, the more you'll see them, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and of course, there's people who say, "Well, they were always there, but you didn't notice them." But I don't believe that at all.
You don't?
I think they're coming for a reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
Um, I've always noticed that, and I think certain people are somehow more attuned to that in a way.
Mhm. Well, that's also if they're accepting that and tuning to the frequency that they seek and that they want to evolve, then of course more flow is coming to you, right? And so we can also cultivate that. Everyone has potential. We just need to cultivate that and unlearn different things to allow that flow to magnetize towards us.
Yeah, that kind of brings up something else that I've always thought about, which is, you'll hear these people, some people say, I'm not spiritual, right? I don't have that
Right.
spiritual side.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think about that? Those
Mhm.
people, what do you think their thought process is? Is there a potential that there's something inside of them they just haven't tapped into, or are there just some people that are not relating to the world in that way?
Like my first thought was to each their own.
Hmm.
However, I do think that, if they haven't tapped into it yet, to be honest, like I, we are nature. We
Hmm.
are spirit. The energy is this is not a woo woo thing. It's fact. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like there's so much more than what we see here. Like this is like the tip of the iceberg, and
Yeah.
so much more that's happening in the quantum field. There, like if someone, I don't know, if someone denies energy, let's say, um, they can just read a quantum physics books, which I love to read, and they're fascinating and they're amazing. You can go look at CERN, there's incredible information out there that also ties them, and I can see that some people might not adhere to or vibe with certain language. So that's also okay. And I understand that, someone also could believe in, energy and stuff like that, but not call themselves spiritual. And to me, I'm like, it's the same, but okay. You know what I mean? It depends on, language is nuanced, and that's also to each their own. You call yourself what you want. This is your reality, Do you
Yeah.
say what you need to say.
I think with though the practice of Reiki is different than what you're doing, I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of related elements.
Yeah.
And I think that is more effective for people that are already have already done some of the work to open those channels.
Yeah.
Give me an idea of what a private session with you would look like, and do you feel like it's something that would be more effective for someone that has already sort of accessed some of those things within
Yeah.
them?
That's a great question. And before I dive deep into that question, I just want to say, how people might say, I'll believe it when I see it. To me, it's, I'll see it when I believe it. And
Right,
that
right,
that
right.
that goes with everything in life. To me, that's a fundamental of my philosophy. So yes, I think in a private mentorship or a one-on-one session with me, well, let's start with a one-on-one with a one-on-one session with me. Yes, it would be definitely mm, easier for, I suppose, for the said client to uh, vibe, to accept, to allow what I do to come through. But that's also why I have an introductory course of tantric dance that kind of is for people who are new to this type of thing, who are new to tantra, who are new to uh, subtle energies, to spirituality in their own sense. And so that kind of creates a platform for them to learn about chakras and about energy and movement and what I teach. And in a one-on-one session, yeah, they're pretty intense and a lot can happen in them. And people also come to me when they're ready, I that so it's, when they're ready they'll come. And same with ceremony. Mhm.
Yeah, there's an element of, if you're seeking it out of your own volition, then you've already started that process of kind of,
Exactly.
right? Well, so much of our society and our knowledge base, and what we cherish as being um, valid knowledge is revolving around um, evident evidentiary, like proof, um, physical proof, which is
Hmm.
super important. But I also think that there's so much about science. I don't think this is necessarily not scientific. I just think there's so much about science that we don't yet know. There's so much we don't know. And if we would go back thousands of years, they had knowledge that a lot of that was lost over the years. And as well, they had knowledge that they would have attributed maybe to um, spiritual realms that we now can explain in a more concrete way
Yeah.
through just evolving and learning
Yes.
more, right? So
Mhm.
um yeah, I'm always interested when people sort of like to explain things away really fast, um, with the explanation that there's no proof for something, or I'll believe it when
Right.
I see it, because how can we know everything? How can we be so arrogant as to think we know
I
everything,
totally agree.
right?
And I think it's, even from a young age, I always thought it was a selfish thought for humans to state that we are the only ones in the universe. I'm going to go there now,
Oh, yeah.
with aliens. But like literally, I'm like, you really think we are the only ones? Why? Like that's selfish, like that's a little bit self-absorbed in my opinion. And now I know very differently. So it's just
Yeah.
funny. It's along
Well,
that same thread.
yeah, I think people are becoming more and more open to that idea. And alternative one of the benefits of the internet, I suppose, is that alternative ways of thinking
Yes.
are also becoming easier to access. um, Yeah, but also damaging and untrue things
Yes.
also
Yes,
are
exactly.
easier to access. So there's a
Double-edged sword, yeah.
double-edged sword to everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, so let's say I was to register for a one-on-one session with you.
Mhm.
What would be like, let's say I'm a total beginner.
Okay.
What would be, can you walk me, I know it's super individual, but like, could
Yeah.
you walk me through sort of what it might look like?
Absolutely. So, thank you also for saying it's super individual because it
Mhm.
is, and it does come intuitively with each individual. But we would meet. We can do this online. We can do this in person. Depends on the lockdown situation, whatever country you're in. Um, and first, starting with presencing, getting into your body, feeling into the space. Uh, that can occur through meditation, through different body practices that I do to really connect with the earth, connect with the elements, connect with the sky, to be here. That's a more subtle way to connect for someone who hasn't done that before, who doesn't have body awareness. And that's a great way to also, let any of the thoughts that are running through your mind just start to drift down and start to settle into what truly needs to come through for that individual. um, Another simple practice is eye gazing. A lot of people fear that. A lot of people are afraid of looking into each other because people say, I can look into your soul, and that's scary because that also mirrors back myself. So that is another technique. And then breath work, different tantric practices that help raise kundalini energy up from the root of your spine, that start to bring it up, and gently at first, because when it does happen in a full kundalini awakening, it's a massive process. And I think for a complete beginner, one needs to have some roots first, as with everything, before you fly ground. And yes, then there's different practices that one can do to raise that kundalini energy up. We can do some movement as well to help open your channels, and then it really just happens intuitively. Like, energy work might come through, a past life regression might occur. I channel a lot of different spirits, a lot of different versions of the god or goddess, and messages will arise, and then it kind of flows intuitively with energy work, movement, breath work, meditation.
You're sort of like a guide. You're not really showing people, like it's all there, but you're sort of just guiding them through
Yeah,
what to
exactly.
open those channels.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
initiations for you, for said client, to step into your power, to come home to your self, to remember your divinity.
What's your own practice with tantra and meditation? How does that,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I have a really extensive morning routine. It's about 4 hours, and I, wake up. I dream journal, so I write my dreams every day, and then I will meditate for an hour minimum. And then I listen to a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations. Love him. They've really helped me. And I'll do other meditations like tantric breath work, and or just sitting meditations, just following my breath and just following the energy rise up my spine and go down, which also helps sensitize my body, like we mentioned earlier. And then I'll do tantric dance, some yoga as well, and sometimes I'll work out. So that's my morning routine. So I really love to do it every day, and it yeah. When I don't do it for a few days, I just, it's really important for me, especially in this time of lockdown, when we're not really living our most normal schedule, or when I travel. It's just important to bring that to ground. So yeah, I'll do that. I'm currently taking a tantra course right now, and I read different books as well that keep me. I'm forever a student, forever learning.
I was just gonna say, it seems like
Yeah.
you've really embodied the beginner's mind,
Yeah,
which
totally. Oh,
is
totally.
very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah.
People think that as adults we're like, they think they're done, or they need to like appear that they're done, in the
Yeah.
sense of like, I'm developed, I'm fully actualized. And I think to approach everything, from a place of a beginner's mind, I'm still learning, I'm still discovering.
Yeah.
And as soon as you kind of start to strip that ego away, you get so much farther, right?
Totally. Yes, absolutely.
I'm really fascinated by that morning routine. That sounds really healthy. Do you find that
Yeah.
sometimes like the capitalist pressures of, like I guess before COVID when we didn't have so much time, um, it must be hard to navigate doing that every day with
Yes.
work and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks for stating that. That's part of the unlearning process though, of not wanting to, I don't aspire to be the best in this, whatever that means, in this patriarchal, colonialistic, white supremacist government. That's not really my goal in life. So I am unlearning these programs that do tell us to hustle all the time, to work all the time. And that's also been a blessing of COVID, right? Where we are able to really sit and tune in with ourselves and deal with all this shadow work that's bubbling up right now in the earth as we ascend. And I am, yeah, it's a daily practice though for me also to think, okay, is this okay? Will it flow? And I am trusting that, and it is. And if you also think about the earth and her seasons, she isn't always in spring and summer, right? There is fall. There
Mhm.
is that death. Fall is the death, and then winter, or the decay into the death, right? And so why aren't we living with our body's rhythms, especially as women, with our cyclical moon rhythms, and then also with life? Sometimes we're not go, go, go. Sometimes we are, but we really need to take that time to rest. Something that has been my mantra as well, in the past 6 months, is rest is productive.
Mhm.
It is equally as important. If you think of yin yang, the yin energy, that soft, the night, the intuitive, the creative, the nurturing, the resting energy is equally as important. But we live in this sun dominated, masculine dominated world, and so we're told it isn't. And so how can we remember that it is and follow that? That is a revolution in itself.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that too, and becoming more aware of the fact that if we were all, if we weren't in the various metropolis environments that we are in, and we were living off the land like we once were, then winter would be a natural time of
Exactly.
retreat and rest. And we've canned all the food, and now we're hibernating, so to speak. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, it's no longer the case, and we've disconnected from what it means to truly rest. I don't think that we can really rest if we're connected to technology as much as we are. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's really possible. And I'm not saying that I've achieved that. I don't think I've ever gone a week without looking at my phone, for example. I've gone maybe
Mm-hmm.
two days. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I really want to do, but it's shockingly hard to find the space to do that. Like when can you arrange for yourself to have even a week of complete peace where you're not, where there isn't somebody who's demanding something of you or needing you to answer an email or needing you to be on top of something via technology?
But I mean, is it really that shocking when you know that the organizers, the people who create all of these apps, have psychologists who help create it so that it is addictive, right? Like, it's don't
Mhm.
I would advise maybe not to put yourself down for feeling that difficulty in releasing that, or into wanting a break when you're being programmed to be addicted to it, just like we all
For
are.
sure, for sure. There's the addictive element, absolutely, but it's also the fact that it's so intertwined in everything we do. Like,
Mhm.
for me, with how I'm promoting myself as an artist, with work in general, like
Yeah.
emails from work, with students that I teach with. This is a medium that has sort of eaten up all of our avenues of
Yeah.
relating and communicating and organizing ourselves so that we cannot exist without them, it seems, on some level.
I was off social media for 3.5 months.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
al- yeah, it was great. And I had gotten in a car accident, so I had a concussion that it's pretty much healed now. But I I like, going on screens hurt my eyes, so I just stopped going on. And there would be days, yeah, where I didn't look at my phone. I had no need to. No one was messaging me, but it was so liberating.
Yeah.
I was so satisfied because I'd there's no pressure. There's no pressure to be something, to
Mhm.
be promoting myself, to be posting, to be talking to anyone. I was just with myself, and that was also extremely challenging. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it was a beautiful experience. But start with short days, and then you'll feel so, like make it a little challenge for yourself. It'll feel good.
Yeah, I did last August I was off social media for the month. Um
Sweet.
and that was good. That was really good. But I find it's just screens in general as well.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean it's great to be off social media and it does relieve some of that pressure. I felt like almost instantly pretty relieved.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that moment of like
I know.
anxiety,
Yeah.
where you're like, what if I miss something? And then you're
I
like, what
know.
would I miss?
I,
Exactly. Like nothing's important here.
I know.
The people that you truly care about will reach out to you, and there's nothing that I need to prove to anybody, certainly not strangers.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's the screens too, it's just the screens.
Something I do for my morning routine, when I'm disciplined, is I will I always put my phone on airplane mode in the night, and then while I'm sleeping, it's off, and then I try really hard, unless I have something early in the morning, like this interview, beforehand. But I will keep it off airplane mode for until I'm done my routine. And then that
That's
feels
great.
good, but that also does create anxiety for me sometimes, to be honest, because I'm like, oh shit, it's 11:30. Like I I have things to do, but it does feel good when I complete my routine before going into that.
It almost creates this illusion sometimes that we're getting things done if we're checking or we're
I
active, and it's like, no, wait a second, I'm not actually doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like timed. I used to do that too. I think you can do this on all phones now, but where you have the time thing for apps, or that tell you how long you've been on them, so you can really just focus and get things done. And that also feels really great. And I actually feel like, because I am getting something done, where I go on Instagram and message everyone, not just one person, and then look at likes, then look at something else. I actually message them all in 10 minutes. It's possible. Get off, stay off.
It's a
Hmm.
tool that has great benefits and also a dark side. And I think the dark side comes when we're scrolling, right? Like that's
Totally.
really the time waster and the thing that makes you feel bad about yourself, the thing that um, just sucks your attention in directions that is not useful.
Yeah,
And using it as a tool to message those people that you need to message for work related things or for personal related things, and then getting off is a really good way of just kind of tracking yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a work
Mhm.
in progress for all of us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
to our credit, it's a tool. The social media tools, they've been developed so fast in our lifetime, and
Hmm.
they've hit us so fast, um, too fast for our biology to catch up, I think, and to really make sense of it. We
Mm.
still don't know what the effects of this will be. We don't know how our brains are going to react and
Hmm.
evolve with this,
Yeah,
and we won't know in our lifetime. So it's, yeah, to be gentle on ourselves, to kind of approach it with caution, but also embrace it when it's useful to us is really a
exactly.
skill. Yeah.
Yes, cheers to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about a bit about your artistry. And
Mm.
so this melding um of spirituality and tantra, and also movement, um kind of informs your musical practice and your artistic practice. And you have kind of I haven't heard this word before, but prayerformance, you've kind of
Yeah.
come up with this way of describing your method. And
Hmm.
do you want to say a bit about that, what that looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So performance, actually, someone gave that to me, Jeff Scalt, and he saw one of my performances that was a fusion of singing, poetry, and dance. And he came up to me and said, "You don't perform, you prayer form." And I actually started to cry, and I thought that was so beautiful. And it's true, it is an invocation of the divine, what I do. And it is a prayer, a prayer that we connect with our present selves, that we remember our divinity, and that we transform. That is what I'm here to do, to transform myself. And in transforming myself, may that activate others to transform themselves and live their highest path. And with the Prayerformance, yeah, I mean, just by being who I am of mixed race heritage, I have always felt drawn to the things in life that don't really make sense, and that are of this mix mash of different things, whether that's with music, that's with people, that's with fashion, with culinary tastes. I love the things that you don't expect to mix well. And that is also, my, I like view that as the rainbow, because the rainbow is when the sun mixes with the water, and that shouldn't happen. Fire and water shouldn't mix, yet here they are, and boom, a rainbow is created. So that's also how I incorporate all these different elements. And I think, okay, I love this and I love this, and I'm going to create my own thing. I'm going to say fuck that to anyone putting me into a box, and I'm going to create this. And I started incorporating the movement, the spoken word, because I have scoliosis and I couldn't pursue dance as my art form in the way that I had wanted to since I was a kid. I couldn't be in a company because I have chronic pain, and it just wouldn't work. And my body doesn't work the way that professional dancers do. And so I still felt this deep, deep urge to create, to allow this juice to come out of me, you know what I mean? And so I thought, how can I still perform? How can I still create an outlet for my expression? And that's when I started writing. And so then I started fusing them. And then I started adding the singing.
Mm. That's awesome. I love to watch your videos. You have the newest one, Conceal. Yeah, I watched it.
Cool.
I watched it on YouTube. It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Anyone who's listening, I recommend checking it out.
Thanks so much.
What is so there's a lot of analogies to blood and to the natural world and femininity. So do you want to talk a bit about the process of creating that and where that stemmed from?
Yeah, totally. So in the priestess work that I do, and in some elements of Tantra as well, there is something known as blood magic. And that is, what blood magic is with a woman's menstrual blood. And it is very potent. There's stem cells in there. Again, that's all that energy that can create a baby that then we release every month. And it's also it's like the dark feminine time in our cycle, because we transform, we shapeshift through the different archetypes of the feminine every month. And it is when we're most potent, when we are in our most shamanic state, and we're also releasing all that energy. And so you can do a lot of manifestation with your blood as well. It's really potent. And I also love to give back to the earth with my blood. And because I believe it's an offering to the earth. It's an offering of myself, my body, to the earth. And she gives so much to us, all the nutrients, she gives everything. We are just living with abundance. And I think it's important for humans to give back to that, in that cyclical nature of giving and receiving. And so that's where the blood theme came into that. That video is with the women's menstruation and shamanic time, that dark feminine, which is what that video is about the rise of the divine feminine, and also accepting and stepping into our power, which is scary for people. An erotic, intelligent woman is the most feared creature on the planet, actually, which is why they put us down so much with religions, with the patriarchy, with colonialism, because we're fucking powerful. Otherwise they wouldn't care.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So movement, music making, the poetry, all of this. Is there one sort of artistic discipline or identity you connect with the most, that feels like closest to your voice, or is it sort of kind of interweaving and changing over time?
Mm, I suppose dance. Yeah, dance definitely. However, it's definitely interweaving. Yeah, it's definitely changing over time to the performance, to all of it. You know, to the mix of it, to the toning, the singing, the poetry, and the dance. But dance is definitely the pillar, I'd say.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but it does come with me really having to take care of my body. Like I have to stretch every day. I have to do certain physiotherapy exercises to you know manage and to help release the tension in my back.
Right. Okay.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
do you have a yoga practice as well?
Yeah,
Still?
I used to teach yoga. I don't teach it anymore, but I still do it all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's next for you with I know everything's kind of slowed down and stopped.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but do you have sort of projects in your mind at least on the horizon or
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, still slowing down though. But I mean, things are a little bit picking up for me a bit more now. As we are going to soon be entering spring, also following the earth cycles, but also because my brain is healing. So I'm able to handle more things now. And I have a single that's coming out in March. I haven't chosen the exact date yet. But yeah, we're just getting it mastered right now and getting the cover art done. Really excited about that. It's my first one ever. And then I will also be doing another tantric dance course in March, that beginner one. So all are welcomed. That's for women identified. And only just yesterday I was really thinking that I might shoot a music video out here in Hawaii because it's so gorgeous and totally works with this next song that I've created. So I'm going to, after this call, connect with a videographer who I really admire and have worked with before, and going to see if he can make it out here and shoot this video. I'm not sure about that one yet, but yeah, different video projects are definitely coming to me in the next few months. And when I'm back in Toronto, I will be directing a music video for a client.
where can people find you if they want to contact you for projects?
You can find me on Instagram at Cheyenne Sapphire. The words are a little bit different, so I'm sure you'll include that in there because it's a little bit
Yeah.
different than the actual spelling of my name. Then you can go to my website, www.cheyennesapphire.com. And there you can read about my tantric dance course if you're interested in that, or about creatrix mentorships that I offer, or seeing some of the videos that I have directed and produced as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
too.
It's nice to
Hmm.
connect with you.
Yeah, so fun chatting.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
yeah,
Have a
no
great day.
problem.
Whoop.
Bye.
Bye.